Hey, hello guys, this is Karthik from executeautomation.com. This is part 2 of BDD series. In this part, we are going to discuss about Gherkin syntax in detail. Before proceeding this part, I suggest you to watch part 1 of this series. As discussed in part 1, the Gherkin syntax looks something like this. The Gherkin syntax is pretty plain text as you could see right now. It has a features, it has a background, and it has a scenarios. It looks pretty plain like a simple text case. Let's take a close look at the scenario. The scenario says, register a user for me with minimal password combination, which is pretty understandable for both the QA and automation test engineers. And it also says, given I have opened a development site and I see the home page loaded. When I click the register link, I should see the register page. When I fill the form with the details like username, password, and C password. So here, the C password is the confirmation password. When I fill this form, the registration should happen, right? So this is the scenario. So this is pretty plain, simple text, and it is very easy to understand from both the developers through the business analyst. So that's how it is. And Gherkin has pretty less syntax as we discussed in past part one. It has features, it has background, it has scenarios, and it has given, when, then combinations. It has scenario outlines, examples, and scenario templates. So, in this part and in the next part of this series, we're going to discuss about all this syntax in pretty detail. Features. So features act as a heading for a particular scenario, and it has a list of steps to be performed in that particular scenario as a whole. Let's go back to the feature we discussed before. As you could see, in this feature, I'm going to say like, hey, whatever scenarios which is covered in this particular feature should have should cover all these things, like check for the home page, see if the registration is working, also verify if the registered user is displayed, which means whatever scenarios which we are going to cover in this particular features will have this particular description. It will check for a home page, and also it checks whether the registration is working. Also, it verified if the registered users are displayed in our development website. So the parser will not interrupt any lines under this particular features, since they are just information to the user, which means here we're not going to perform any operations, since these are just an information to the user saying that this is all the operations which needs to be performed. Let's take a look at the background. Backgrounds are very handy while working with some scenarios which has some common functionalities. They will be executed before every scenarios and perform the specified operation. Consider this, in our feature we have 10 scenarios. So in that case, for each and every 10 scenarios, this background operation will be executed first, and then the scenario will be executed. The reason for this is, consider this. We have 5 scenarios which perform registration of a user, and we need to run the same scenario over and over again. If our website will perform registration of a particular user only one time, if we try to register the same user second time, because in our feature file we have hard coded this Karthik, KKK, and KKK, and we cannot change this value as of now for every execution, and hence we might need to clear the user data of an application every time before running this particular scenario. So the background come into handy while doing this kind of operation. So here, as you could see, what we have did is, in the background we have given clear the already created users before starting a scenario. It says like, every time you run the scenario, this will clear the already created users in our development website. So it's more like this. In Selenium, we have something called setup and teardown, or in test ng we something have before test and after test. Similarly, in Gherkin, we can use the background. Scenario. Scenario is where we will actually write all our operations to be performed in our test case. Scenario will hold the given, when, then, and but syntax. But note that the parsing tools like Specflow, Cucumber does not really care about the given, when, then syntax. But to get into BDD mindset, we need to follow this since they are meant to be for that purpose. Now it's going to be very interesting. We told earlier that the parsing tools follow the syntax of the Gherkin, but now we are saying that the parser does not really care about the keywords like given, when, then syntax. But why is that? The reality is the parser does not really care about what the given, when, and then is going to perform. What it really cares about is what operation we specify behind the scenes for that particular statement. And this given, when, then is for the user's reading purpose so that they can really understand what this particular statement talks about. Well, right now, this seems to be really confusing, but we'll talk more about that in our upcoming sessions. In our next part, we'll talk more about scenario outline and examples and also scenario templates. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.